home. Where does the devil dwell? It says
Hell.
Satan roams around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. This is what the scriptures say. It also says when Jesus was taken to a high mountain and shown all the glories of all the kingdoms, he said, all this is mine, I can give it to whoever I wish. Where does Jesus live? Supposedly he's sitting at the right hand of his Father in heaven, right? If Jesus was living here, then it would have a different thing. But he didn't even want to stay here. He couldn't wait to get out of here until everything was fixed or going to be put back in order. Then he would return. On his return, he's going to put it back the way it once was, possibly, or the king would live amongst his people. Therefore, we are not in heaven now, and we're in the devil's kingdom because he rules and reigns on planet Earth. That's why evil's allowed to run today, because the devil has his home on Earth. Now, question. Oh, I thought you had a question. Something I said made you think.
Yeah. The part about things will be the same. He'll
Yep.
come back when things are the same, or the same here.
Well, if there's a place where it says he creates a new heaven and a new earth, or he renews it the way it once was. In the beginning, he created an environment which was like a paradise on earth.
Okay, that's the part.
Right.
Okay, now, do you really think that he's going to recreate where there was a fault?
I mean, renew it like it once was?
Right, the free will part.
The-
Because he says he's taken out. There will be no sex in heaven.
What? How do we get to that?
Well, because it's
Your
not
mind's
going to
in the
be
gutter.
the same. No, my mom told me that.
There'll be no sex in heaven?
Yeah.
Well,
You're
you're
not
not
gonna
going to have
even think
physical
of it.
bodies
Yeah,
like
no.
these. We'll have immortal bodies where you don't have the needs to reproduce primarily, because you are going to be like the angels. It says they neither marry or give in marriage. Jesus was asked about that. He said he never, in the kingdom, those who are, blessed to get there will be like the angels. They'll neither marry or give in marriage. So you're right there. But in the kingdom of heaven, you're not going to have to eat, most likely, to stay alive, because you're going to be immortal. The angels don't have to eat, I hope, because I haven't seen any of them come down here and rob my food.
Now in Genesis chapter 3, I think it is, where it says that the sons of the gods saw the daughters of men were fair, came down and had intercourse with them. Wasn't that fallen angels?
You girls, sex, intercourse, this is all they
I'm
talk
just
about.
going on what subject we're on.
If this is on YouTube,
No, but you were talking.
you girls are in trouble.
You're talking about.
We won't be.
that
It's your
we'll
day.
be like the angels, and then they don't have
Right.
physical needs.
They're,
Was it though? Were
But
they fallen angels in
if
Genesis?
you look at the few places, or the very few places that it talks about that aspect you talk about, there was a strange thing that took place where these angels could shift change, or they were definitely not locked into an environment as they are today. Because he said because they did this, they were put into the bottomless pit and chained there until the last days. So it was like if you're playing football and some of the people from the stands got on the field and started to run with the ball and got a touchdown. It would be against the rules of the game, so therefore they possibly were penalized, because the angels were never supposed to cross over and do things like that. They're not allowed to play the game, right? And they were then thrown out of the stadium and said, no, you're not allowed to play anymore, and never do that. So they were limited to that, and therefore they were put in a special prison waiting for judgment. And if you read Peter, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, it talks about the way they were held back, and they were put in these prisons waiting for the last day. And then in Revelations, it talks about the end days when they were open, the bottomless pit was open. And these crazy ones that were held up all this time are let out. And then they come and do havoc on the mankind. You can read that. and it talks about that they had the power in them to like sting like scorpions, and they were just mean son of a guns because they were held down in the pit all that time. Another point that gives reference to these people that broke the rules was given when Jesus crossed over to the Sea of Gadarene. He went to the Gadarene demonic, and he had a legion of devils in him. And he said, if you're going to cast us out, don't put us in the pit. Don't throw us to the pit, but put us into those pigs. And then he put them into the pigs, and then they flew over the cliff, and they were all drowned. So they were scared to be put in the pit because they knew there was a pit that these angels that crossed over, played with the women, they broke the rules because God said you don't do that kind of stuff. There's rules in the game that the demons can't come over here and grab you right now and beat you up. They can't.
So I can threaten them on Facebook all I want.
Demons? Yeah.
Sometimes I do right things.
But,
They come after me. I'm having a good day. Why don't you try to get me today?
A lot of information that we've read and seen about evil exorcisms and stuff, they can't physically grab you. Do you ever heard anybody being grabbed by a demon? A demon meaning an angel, a spiritual angel, dark angel, that they actually physically abused them. I don't know of anybody.
Only if the demon was in the body of a human.
Right. So they are the only way they can get really physical with anybody. And what if that was the case that they did that then is the question. But the reality behind demon oppression and suppression is that that demon wants to use your container. So if you let them have access to your will or your mind by drugs or something where you like are out of your body experiences, they'll take your body over because they love the taste of filet mignon or a steak. They have no ability to test their senses to have that type of thing. So when you look at the demons, they can't just grab your ass. If there was a demon standing here, I think that's the rule is they can't grab you. But they can have somebody else grab you if they can use their body or put evil in their mind to work you over. Mm-hmm. Look at Jesus. Did a devil put him on the cross? Or demons? Did demons rough him up? No. People did that were controlled by the devil. Mm-hmm. When he was screaming, crucify him, crucify him, the devil incited the crowd to get crazy. The devils didn't scream it out. Even when the demons were in people, when Jesus was casting them out, the demons would say, we know who you are, the Holy Son of God. You know, if you read this in the Gospels, it's very interesting that the demons recognized who he was, but the leaders and the teachers of the day said, you're Beelzebub. You're a devil. It's really interesting if you just see the picture, and you really need to read the scriptures on your own a lot, especially the Gospels, and hear what Jesus has to say. You gave me that book, the Gospel thing. It's really neat. Every so often I crack that baby open, but it's nice because when you see the Gospels, you hear basically the clearest information by people who are close to him talk about what Jesus said and done while he was here. And when you listen to the words of Jesus, it automatically turns your soul or spirit, and the spirit will say, this is right. Now, what is Jesus trying to emphasize in these examples and things? And I've been hitting people with that a lot lately. If you don't have a red letter Bible, get one and read the red and get it in your head. Because if you have a question about something like fornication or stealing or lying or how to treat your fellow man, Jesus basically clarifies all that stuff while he was here. And he gives you his viewpoint. Most people don't want to hear what Jesus has to say because then they can actually maybe say, well, I didn't know that. Remember our last time you stood in front of a judge and I went around a school bus? I go, well, I didn't know I couldn't go around a school bus there, sir. Well, ignorance of the law doesn't mean you're excused. So Jesus expects us to hear what he has to say. If we believe he's the Son of God and that he has the information that leads to life, why wouldn't you beat your head against the wall until you remember almost everything he said in the Gospels? that's so cool, because for years and years as an early Christian, I just kept listening to it over and over and over on discs or tapes. I like hearing it while I'm working, and you can do it when you're painting and stuff. If you don't have the Gospels and the New Testament on CD now, you can even get it on the internet free. But you just listen to it, and it's so exciting to hear it, not just like one scripture, like a lot of the guys would come here and quote one scripture and give you a one little line on something. Listen to it as it's a movie. When you start in the first chapter and go all the way through the book, sometimes I'll do that 6 times in a row in one day. It gets like a movie. Now you can say, when he said, I said, that's not in the Bible. When I said that's not in the Bible, because I listened to it so many times, I go, that's not in the scriptures. You're making it up. And then that's not to make somebody feel bad, but once you understand everything Jesus said, it's very difficult to sidestep and say, well, I don't know what he thought about that. Because it's pretty clear most of the time. Oh, the devil was trying to shake a log, see? Look how easy that fire started.